Hello and welcome to myfinanceteacher.org. Let's have a look at cryptos now, and we haven't looked at cryptos for quite a while. I think it's time to see what's happening. And one of the things I noticed is what's happening to Ethereum. So this is the chart that I looked at in one of my previous videos. A few months ago, what we observed is some sort of a symmetrical triangle on the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart, forming all since the beginning of 2019. And we were expecting a breakdown as the cycle for Ethereum versus Bitcoin comes to its low. So far, Ethereum has behaved somewhat similar to the forecast. We're down over the last several weeks. And the interesting question is, of course, are we going to see Ethereum rise over the next few weeks? I think there is a nice potential in Ethereum versus Bitcoin trade, as I mentioned several weeks ago. And personally, I am trying to catch some Ethereum at the price of 29 millibitcoin per Ether. It's at the moment slightly higher than that. It's 29.4 millibitcoins. I'm wondering whether I'm going to go along with this price, add some Ethereum to my portfolio, leave some BTC, for the case if Ethereum drops a little bit further within this cycle low, so that I can average down. And after that, I think over the next several weeks, we're going to see a nice gain in Ethereum versus Bitcoin. After all, it's already into oversold territory. So here I want to talk about the reasons why I think we are going to observe some sort of a bounce. So the first reason is, of course, Ethereum versus Bitcoin is already oversold on the 10-day RSI. Last time it was more oversold was relatively recently, in early December last year. So we're not that deep into oversold territory yet, which means Ethereum might still continue to drop a little bit. So I might still catch it at 29 millibitcoins or slightly lower than that. I do have some bids below that as well. Nevertheless, we are already into oversold territory, and we might see some sort of a bounce relatively soon from that oversold territory. Another reason why I think we might see a bounce soon is the cycle duration, which so far has been going on for 82 days. Nothing says that the cycle cannot continue and stretch for a little bit more than that. However, if we look at what history tells us, let's look at this period, for example, from late March 2018, early February 2019. That gives us 10 months, and we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cycles. So sometimes they do stretch for 3 months, sometimes they're relatively short, but on average that gives us about 2 months per cycle. And the current one, as we already mentioned, has been going on for 82 days, nearly 3 months, which only adds to the probability that we are nearing the cycle low. Another factor that tells me that we might see a bounce soon is the fact that price is below the 21-day moving average, so that's basically a 3-week moving average, by around 7%. It's not that much, so again, it means that price might continue to go down for a little while longer, but I do expect a bounce relatively soon. And the interesting thing is, even in the midst of really hard bear market, as we saw all the way through 2018, even when Ethereum was dropping like a stone, at the cycle tops, it often at least reached to the level of that 21-day moving average, to that 3-week average, or sometimes had a slight peak just above that. So for that reason, again, if history repeats, which it often does, I expect Ethereum eventually over the next several weeks to at least take a peak above this 3-week moving average and possibly go much further than that. So how high can this bounce take us? Let's say we're going to see a bounce a few days from now. And let's have a look at some resistance levels. The first resistance level is quite close to where the price is at the moment. That's connecting this low that we saw at the beginning of April and that high near the end of April. So that gives us resistance at about 0.03 Bitcoin per Ether. I think that resistance is easily going to be broken as Ether tries to take a peak slightly above 21-day moving average. Another resistance area is formed by this consolidation zone that Ethereum has been in for all through March. In early April, we dropped out of that consolidation box, then retested it. We couldn't hold it and declined into the cycle low. Actually, if we don't see a very strong rally in Ethereum, I think returning back to that consolidation box, or at least retesting it, might be a good first target for our bounce. And once I enter into some positions, I might take out some of those at about 34 millibitcoin per Ethereum. That's not that much of a gain actually, only around 15.5% from current levels. For most traditional markets, that's a pretty nice gain, but for cryptos, of course, it's a very, very modest gain. But there's also a chance that Ethereum might go slightly above that consolidation box, reaching, let's say, close to 38 millibitcoins per Ethereum. The reason there is a chance for that, I think, is this 100-day moving average is also close to the bottom range of that consolidation zone. And since the painful part in the bear market has finished, Ethereum cycles have actually topped relatively far above that 100-day moving average. So that is one of the things I'm watching in crypto markets. However, remember, crypto markets are quite risky, and I don't advise risking too much capital on this type of trades. I hold most of my crypto assets in Bitcoin and just play around with a tiny percentage of that portfolio in this sort of trades. And whether you are looking at the same trade, Ethereum versus Bitcoin, or if you're looking at something else in cryptocurrencies, as always, I wish you luck in your trades. And in return, it would be nice if you give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, especially with those who might be interested in trading cryptocurrencies, as well as commodities such as gold and crude oil. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and have a nice day.